What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Duster US TV Cologne show. We are going to be reviewing all of North American action, all of the Brazilian action as well for today, because we have Lucas Adustu deciding that he has other obligation and he isn't daddy enough. We've got Mike, DarfMike. Mike is a caster. You've seen him around everywhere. He just got back from ESL Valencia, so he might be a little bit jet lagged, but we're going to make sure that he's all up. So, Mike, we got a sign here to start off with?
There we go. I just realized it was too low to actually see on cam, so we put it there. I did not do very well on my major pick'ems, who I assumed did better. I honestly didn't even check. I just kind of assumed he did better because mine were real trash. I made some bold moves. It didn't work out. It's okay. It happens. Go big or go home. You don't want to be one of those nerds who just has a diamond coin from playing it safe. They're losers. Vu. Also a nerd, but it's okay. Says Vu is a better analyst than me. I'm serving my penance here on the Destiny US post show. Thank you for giving me the platform to do that. Let's talk about Cologne. It's been pretty shit for NA so far.
Yeah.
Par for the course, my guy.
It's not been pretty good. So we should probably start off with the only American team that was at the play-in. Start off with Complexity. We had 2 interviews come out today on the dust2.us channel, website, whatever. We had interviews with Grim, and we had an interview with the head coach TC. So with the interview with Grim, the headline, which I assume a lot of people have seen, was basically Grim going ahead and saying every other team has pressure because they don't want to be the first to lose Complexity. Now, the reaction that I got immediately, like after kind of reading that, was, well, yeah, no one wants to be that team to lose to the team that's lost 10 in a row. Everyone else seemed to take it as just like this super depressive, like everything is bad and this is the worst. I thought it was like funny.
I think it's one of those where if you don't know the guys and you don't like read it in context of the rest of the quote, I can see how it's just a real like bummer thing. But I would wager he laughed as he said it. Because literally, like, you read the quote and it's like, well, how do you deal with just losing this? And they're like, yeah, we go into every match being like, no one wants to be the first. No one wants to be the first. Like, yeah, it's you know, it's not exactly a happy statement. Everyone would prefer to not have to make that statement, but at least have a sense of humor about it is not the worst thing. I don't think there's too much to read into about that quote.
Yeah. So the overall interview was actually really, really interesting. Talks a lot about like how's the mentality of the team been throughout this incredible loss streak, what's going on, what are they looking forward to. I mean, obviously the break is coming up. He even talks a little bit about the EG report that came out. Grim was going ahead and saying, Stewie is one of the smartest players as he ever played with, which I was a little surprised by considering the Stewie interview that we all know from way back in the day.
Yeah, Grim's a nicer guy than Stewie is. Grim is a very nice young lad. I'll say that. Whether he really believes the things he's saying, he probably does. I doubt he'd be a liar about it. Like, I'm sure he thinks that Stewie's a really smart dude, and as a player as well. But Grim is a nice guy, just a nice, well-mannered, polite young lad. And that's if his mama probably taught him, you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So he said some nice things.
Yeah, the TC interview though, I just really quickly, that was a lot more harsh, I think, on the overall season. This, like a lot of the attention's kind of been getting on that Grim interview, but I have to say that this TC one, as I read over it, I was like, wow, this team is in shambles right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the reality, right? This is a team, this is a roster, this is a core that was very exciting when they were picked up by Complexity. Extra Salt had done a lot in their stints in Europe, right? Had actually, impressed. Fang won the MVP of a Fun Spark ulti. You discredit that tournament all you want. It doesn't really matter. But they had done very well in their stints in Europe, right?
Yeah.
They've done very well in the way that they play. They were an exciting, dynamic team to watch. They were a lot of fun to watch, even when they were losing.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a lot of excitement about this team as they came over to Complexity. You add Grim just off of Liquid, you're like, okay, can Grim recover to being back to the old stud?
Exactly.
You add Junior into the roster. There was some excitement about Junior getting another stint at top end opping after the Fury experiment didn't exactly go well. There was a lot of excitement about this team, and it has not delivered. They had some good games very early on, but it does feel like, honestly, they feel like they're in a position as a team where it's a tough place to be in, is where even beyond the fact that these 5 players could potentially work out in some system, feels like they've lost faith in their own team. And it certainly doesn't help when all the news around you is just you getting clowned on Twitter, on Reddit, on fucking
Yeah.
Dust2 US comments. Like, every time you give an interview, it's just like the community is like, let's find a quote and make fun of them for it.
It's honestly getting to the point of where like you see this team and it's like, yeah, we know that they're not good right now, but it's just, I don't know, the hate for them is so
people
absurd.
like to hate on NA. Also,
People do, and it's annoying.
Part of it is also, and I don't want to blame him in this one, but Junior hasn't done himself a favor with the comments that he makes, and I know that's just because it's just him. It's just him and being an American and goofing around and joking and shit talking, and it's like nothing he said has been egregious. Nothing he said has been egregious. But he's
really
not media trained. He needs more media training because he keeps giving interviews where he has like the quote, where it's just gonna get yoinked.
He did the press conference interview that he did at Cologne. He basically is like, I'm playing how every other opera should play. And you know what the next sentence was basically talking about? I'm helping do the support. I'm in these positions. I'm doing this. This is how I think opera should play. Like,
yeah, but that's a quote. But that's literally a quote where you just don't say it if you're not doing well. You just don't say it, and there's a lot of them.
He was talking about style, not skill or performance.
With
it
Liquid
was
for
so
number
out
one.
of context.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you got to know that any quote you give can be
I'm just saying,
in context.
People like to take a lot of shit at Dust 2 for our quotes sometimes and what we do. I don't think we've ever done something as egregious as that.
I mean, let's read the Grim headline again.
It was perfect talking about that. It was perfect.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just
thank you.
Giving you a hard time.
You are giving me a hard time.
It's literally like it is just. I feel like they're in a really bad place, right? Where
they're in Europe. Sorry. God. Ugh.
One of two things has to happen. Either they need to go on a fucking spiritual retreat in the Himalayas and like eat yak butter for a month or something and refine themselves, right? Like go on a spirit quest vision journey and just refine who they are as people, or they got to make a change. Because at this point, it's not even about like one individual needing to be replaced from a statistical performance. It's they have lost faith in the project. It seems like just watching the way they play and the way they crumble in situations where they should be fine, and hearing what I've heard and seeing the interviews and like knowing, like it just feels like teams get into this point sometimes where they feel like it's a dead roster. They feel like it's sort of a nosedive, and even if it could be salvaged, once you have that mentality, it's very hard to just reset and go forth. So the question is, do you make a change? And to my eyes, the way that you make a change is one of two directions. You either change the coach, PC, or you change your operator. Realistically, those are your two options.
Seems like what it might be at this point. It might be the opera. I mean, TC's gone ahead in the interview that we had today, basically saying there's a good chance there's going to be some changes. They've tried what they can at this point. It's just like a Band-Aid. To get the motivation back, there got to be some changes to come through.
Yep.
Here's my wish list for complexity. All right? A little ambitious here. Number one, I think that they can do it if they really, really wanted to.
Trying to see if you agree with me on the number one. All right, who's yours?
Device.
Nope.
Yeah. I still think it might not be the worst idea in the world that I've ever had.
He won't do it.
Listen, he's got no girlfriend. Unfortunately, that's why he's not currently around, is that he's having, he's dealing with that. He's dealing with a long-term relationship that ended. And he's taking a good break. But why not? Number two is Cirque. I don't think Cirque would be the worst option.
You are thinking so small. First, you're thinking too weird, and then you're thinking too small. All right, so first off, I'm just going to refute your points. Device, a huge part of Device's mental leave is that he opted to move to another country to be in a relationship
his girlfriend.
That then didn't work.
Yes.
I know. And then he was like, fuck, I don't want to do this. I want to go back to Denmark after that relationship ended. And so I don't think he's going to be like, man, I really like living in Denmark. So instead of moving, 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever away, I'm going to switch continents. And also, it's not like the thing that NA teams can do to lure players over is throw a goddamn bag at them. Device does not need a bag. Device has secured the bag. Device has the bag for days. He's not going to be tempted by a giant bag. And he's also not going to be tempted by playing with complexity. He knows he's on that roster.
But hasn't he always wanted to play with world-renowned Justin Van Coakley?
If Device comes back, he can play on any Danish team he wants. He just needs to get out of his NIP contract. And so NIP is either going to hold him forever, or he's going to be on a Danish roster.
They paid a
That's
million for him.
ridiculous.
They're gonna keep him forever.
And then you really think that the solution to having an offer that didn't work out is to get a guy who is not working out in the op? Like, no. Here's your actual wish list. Here's who you go get. Here's who you go get. Jason Lake, if you're listening to this, whoever, if you're listening to this, go get Degster. Go get fucking Degster.
Wow.
Degster
Honestly,
is
that's not bad.
goddamn nuts. Figure out how to throw a bag at Degster. He said he didn't want to play in Serbia. Fuck it. He'll go play in Dallas, dude.
Wasn't his reported buyout like 300,000?
You can make it work. Whatever. Spirit have already moved on. They've signed Wonderful. They'll figure out a way to make it work out. Yeah. I'm telling you,
I don't know.
Dexter on this team.
Here's the real question, though. I know I want to say this, but this might be a problem with Dexter. Is Team Spirit based out of Russia?
Yes, but I don't believe they're oligarch controlled.
If they're not sanctioned, then they're fine.
That's the whole issue. They're playing under their team at Cologne. They're not oligarch controlled.
Then that's fine. Then the whole Yekender situation is because Virtus Pro is a sanctioned org, not the other Russian teams. So
so it shouldn't be an issue because they play under Spirit, so they are presumably not sanctioned, so they should be able to, like, I'm sure it'd be complicated. I don't want to do the accounting, but you should be able to acquire Degster. The trick is you need to persuade him and his girlfriend to move continent. And he said, I only want to play in an international team or in Na'Vi. That's what he said, right? Which, by the way, Na'Vi is an international team, but I know that's
an international
CIS team. He doesn't want to play in another CIS team. That's what he said. Frankly, Degster is good enough that he can say that. So here's the thing. Throw the bag at him. You're going to have to throw a bag at him because I'm sure EU teams are much more appealing, but do it. Throw an absolute bag at him. Degster would be huge. He's got massive star power in the AWP. He can just create for himself as well. He does not need to be told what to do. Like, even as a stand-in, he has absolutely slaughtered people. When he stood in for, Sprout, I think it was, in, like, the Meisterschaft, he was just, like, dropping 40 a map. It was absurd. He's ridiculous. He has calmed in English before. Not much. Very little. It would definitely take an adjustment. But he's the kind of player who you can just be like, how do you want to open up this round? And he'll tell you, and then you call around that. And he'll go get you one or two. Like, just like clockwork. So, you want an opera? That's my wish list. Go get Degster, please. He's so good.
All right. We got to move on. We got matches to talk about. MIBR and Tai Lu. Easily the most disappointing match that I have seen so far at this event. And I watched all of Complexity's games. Like, MIBR had this, and it was such a weird game because their map picks were completely the opposite way. They dominated Tai Lu, and then they completely blew it. So it just doesn't make sense what was going on. And then at least finally, Dust 2 looked to be like a little bit more even in that first half. But again, MIBR just struggling. They were out of it. They never seemed, I think, after they lost their map pick in the fashion that they did, they basically lost their entire mental. Like, they were going to lose that BO3.
They've been looking they looked weird at Valencia in some situations where you thought they should put games away, and they did not. I, full confession, did not watch this game, and I might actually go back and watch it purely because Tai Lu looked like such a god-awful team when they played at Pro League Conference. Like, legitimately terrible. Like, they didn't know how to trade. They didn't look like they were even talking to each other. Like, they didn't have spacing. They were just dry entrying sites with no proper spacing, getting killed one by one. They were awful in Valencia, or in conference. Sorry, they weren't in Valencia. So maybe they just needed time to settle in.
But they did change their IGL back after the major, right? I remember. Yeah, that Wooji. They benched him, and he was the IGL.
Somebody left. He retired.
Woody. He didn't retire.
Oh, you're talking about MIBR. I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about Tai Lu.
Oh,
yes.
I thought you were talking about MIBR.
MIBR has made a change. Cello is calling for them.
Everything you were saying about them being weird, I was like, yeah, I agree with you. MIBR.
No, that was about Tai Lu. Which is why I'm so confused about how MIBR lost to them, because Tai Lu literally looked like a team that any decent team should destroy based on the way they played. Like, they had some aim, but that was it. That was all they were running on. So I'm curious to see if Tai Lu should settle down like crazy, or if MIBR is really that rough. Yes, they swapped IGLs. Woody out of the roster was the in-game leader. Cello is calling right now, which reminds me, how did he do individually? No, he was still fine individually.
Cello's a beast.
He's a hard carry. He's pretty nuts. Brenzen, BRNZ, also was solid in impact. So that's fine. Who shit the bed? Turtle. All right.
Turtle
obviously
just a
I have to
bad
watch
game.
The game.
bad game for Turtle. I think
He's been having a
overall, like
couple of
Turtle,
those.
he's I think MIBR as a whole is still a solid team.
Mhm.
I think this might have just been a very uncharacteristic, weird one-off game that they've lost.
Dan King did go ham, huh?
Yeah,
So
he did.
that helps. Dan King going ham helps.
But do we think that MIBR would have actually held Mouse, like put their feet to the fire and made a competitive BO3? Or do you think that the same result, it would have been a 2-0 loss?
It depends. MIBR from ESL Pro League Conference? Yes. MIBR from ESL Challenger Valencia? No. I don't understand what happened to them in like a week span. Usually teams get better with more time in Europe. What might be happening, this does happen sometimes with teams when you have new in-game leaders or when you swap who your in-game leader is there's a dip, right? We just started, I'm pugging and calling whatever comes into my brain. Boom, like 3,000 IQ just ripping heads. No pressure, we don't expect to be good yet. Then there's the installing of the system, in which case this is like Bit trying to download information into Cello's brain so that he can call on the server. Because realistically, this is Bit's structure and system and whatnot. Right. And Cello is just trying to orchestrate it. And so then that might be slowing him down right now, where he's like processing and trying to get up to speed with an IGL, and instead of just thinking about how to go rip heads, he's thinking about how to orchestrate everybody to go rip heads. And theoretically, if it works and he makes the adaptation to an in-game leader, then you see the growth back up. So if you're optimistic about MIBR, you're hoping that this is a temporary slowdown. The concern is really how is Cello going to adapt, because the firepower is there. It's a little weird that BRN is upping. I think that there is a world where they make a change to bring in a more deady opper and swap BRN to rifling.
Did they bring back Henny?
No.
You
think the org would sign Henny again after what happened last time he was on the roster? He was part of the roster that forced their ways out of MIBR.
Yeah, for more money. Nation. And I think now, I don't know. I feel like it's not.
They don't pay more money now.
I know. They pay less and they get more success. But
I think you go find
Henny
a nutty opper.
Henny is the answer, and Henny is a top Brazilian opper.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there's this guy guy who's apparently on 9Z now, the newest edition of 9Z. Oh god, I'm gonna put his name, so I'm gonna look it up first. NQZ.
Yeah.
Who I was talking to Raul this weekend
nuts.
About him, and he's apparently a monster. He thinks he's the next monster to come out of Brazil. So if you can yoink that guy from 9Z, which MIBR has a long history of success of yoinking people from 9Z, right? Got Bit.
Well, and then 9Z, doesn't 9Z have a good history of like not paying or anything? So
I think they are more budget than MIBR is.
Aren't the relationships between the two orgs like pretty frayed ever since that was it Iron deal? Or was
9Z and MIBR? I mean, they just got Bit this last winter.
Yeah, but I don't think that was that a transfer, or was that its contract?
That was a transfer. I believe that was a transfer. I don't know the exact details. You would know more than me, journalist. But yeah,
I don't care about coaches. Listen, I've just been managing people. All right, I don't need
team,
this.
man. It's a Bit is way more impactful on that roster than coaches are on a lot of rosters.
Listen. Anyways, Imperial 0-0 Nation match we just watched. Okay. Imperial with probably the choke of the event. Like they had that third map. All set
9-6. 9-6 T side? What the hell happened there? I just want to know what happened in that collapse.
I think it was up to like 11. They won pistol.
Well, so they were up 6. So 0-0 was up 6-4, and then suddenly I checked back because I had to walk the dog, and fucking Imperial was up 9-6. So they ripped 5 rounds in a row to close the half, and then they opened with the pistol, but they won both pistols. They actually won 4 pistols.
That's the problem. That's the problem. They won all the pistols, and they still lost us 2-0. Yep. That is bad. They were up. I was right. They were up 11-6. They were up 11-6 on their CT side, on their map pick of Overpass.
Yeah. Not good.
That to me is insane. I don't care how good Try is. You cannot let that happen. You just cannot let
it is really exciting to see Try be good in this roster, because that was, I think, the biggest question mark about this team to me was there were two aspects of the question mark. One of them hasn't been answered yet. We'll see as the tournament goes on. But the other one for Try is he's starting to look really nice, which is huge. One was, was try in the old 0-0 Nation roster just shit because the system was shit and the whole team was bad. Which, yes, that's kind of the working assumption. But sometimes when a player has like a depressed period in their statistics and individual performance, even if it's completely not their fault, you don't see the same recovery just because so much of this game is confidence and mental. But he seems to be settling in the 0-0 roster again. There was also a question because that rumor, that report leak that he was maybe out of the roster.
Yeah.
Like, that can shake a player's mental, but it seems like he's past that.
Is he? And here's the other question: is he playing for his life here? Did he need the pressure in order to succeed?
I don't think
this
so.
Now a little bit of him saying "fuck you"?
I don't think so.
I can do this.
I don't think it was about getting rid of Try. I think it was about getting Barton when they were potentially considering that. I think it was about the Godsend core wanting to keep as much of it together.
Godsend
and so I think probably they thought about it and they were like, we probably should have an offer. So that was the decision. I have no idea what it was like behind the scenes. I would love to see an interview about it, specifically about what motivated that change. But I think it makes more sense team composition wise. Dumal's nuts. He was fine this series, but he is nuts. That dude is incredible. He's going to be the best Brazilian player in 3 years, 2 years, maybe next year. I don't know. He's so good. He's so good. He's fucking monstrous, dude.
All right, so let's try and take a look at all of the roads to get here. I think producer Martin's going to be able to show up what the brackets were that we had previously, just to kind of see the roads and see the previous matchups, so we can just look at that, see if there are any other upsets that we have, and then after that, we'll go take a look at our matchups for tomorrow.
Dude, I'm amazed Vu hasn't come in here to gloat yet. He must be asleep.
He probably it's hard to be him being right all
2
the time.
p.m. West Coast time. He's probably asleep.
Definitely sleep. He's a night owl. He's a night owl. Yeah, I think. Listen, I think the complexity matches were definitely difficult. So as we see here, complexity had to play Spirit. Wonderful looks like a fine offer. I think that the team is kind of dealing without him. That was a difficult one. And then MIBR losing to Riders was a little surprising to me at first. But then with the way that Riders beat Vitality,
dude,
like,
Movistar
shocked.
on a momentum swing. I mean, winning Valencia in front of the home crowd, they are riding on a high, and I'm really curious to see how far they can go here in Cologne. I'm thrilled for the guys that they made it. It was so cool to watch them do the trophy lift in front of their home crowd. And I think that was literally, the first time they've had a home crowd at an international event. So it's pretty clear that it was like I don't know. I hope they can just carry that energy and have like a whole mental shift in how they view themselves as players. Because Movistar, honestly, before this last event, to me, has always felt like a team that was super consistent, and that I always expected them to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and I always expected them to lose to the teams that they're supposed to lose to. They were very level in that 20 to 15 range, right? In my head.
Yeah.
And it feels like they've finally been like, we can beat them. And just cracked up. So I'm very curious to see how high Movistar can go.
Definitely be interested. And then 0-0 Nation obviously had their major upset win over Astralis, which put them into this position. And then if we can see the next half of the bracket, we'll also see how we had Complexity get 2-0'd by Astralis. Pain Gaming as well went out. That was another bit of a shocker. We haven't really talked too much about them, but that is definitely always a downside. Pain, I think, have looked good. They definitely need more experience, but we got to figure out what's going on with them. And then Imperial over Order was a little shaky this morning as well. That one got a little scary, but they seemed to pull it through after losing the first map. And as we just discussed, MIBR 1-2 against Hailu. So those were the play-in matches. Vitality squeaks by as well. I was really excited to call Zywoo a fraud. I have a Zywoo fraud watch going on. You cannot be the number 1 player of the year twice and then the number 2 player of the year and just be absolutely missing in these games.
Shoutouts Cold Zera.
It's happened a few years for him. All right, let's look at the matchups for tomorrow into the separate group stage bracket. And we have Riders going to play G2, which will be interesting. Ents Vitality, that's going to be an Ents easy. Nip Heroic, I think that's a heroic one. So therefore, it might set up the match against Navi, because I don't think there's any way that Navi loses to Nets. No shot. So for me, those are my picks. I think it might be an Ents Riders Heroic Navi victory.
I'm going Navi. I'll take NIP. You think the Riders are beating G2?
G2 fraud watch. I don't have faith in that org. I feel like everything that they touch just does not work out in season.
Okay. I would love Movistar to win that. I don't think there's a world in hell where they do. I'll be honest. I mean, there's a world. There's a world. I don't think it happens. I think G2 wins that. It'd be dope if Movistar wins that. Yeah, I'll take Ents. I'm pretty unconvinced by Vitality. They nearly lost to Sprout. No offense to Sprout, but they just lost to Hummer like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
So
not exactly great. All right, let's see some of these other matchups. We've got FaZe 0-0 Nation. That is going to be tight. I think that's going to be a FaZe win. It's a FaZe win.
Should be.
Should be. And then we'll have the Team Liquid with Ykinder. That's going to be exciting.
I'm very excited to watch that.
I think that's too. Liquid. I think Liquid beat Team Spirit.
No clue, to be honest. Liquid's a huge wild card here. I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how they deploy Ykinder. Because I was talking to people about this in the last couple of green rooms, right? There's a lot of potential role clash between him and Elige. So the question is, do you shift Elige up and make him uncomfortable? Or do you shift Ykinder up and make him uncomfortable? And personally, I'd like to let them just play Ykinder like Ykinder, and Elige is a smart guy, and he can figure out other roles.
So very, very interesting. We had a theory in one of our opinion articles about this, about how they might use Ykinder, and the basically goes ahead and say, well, if they use Ykinder to be this entry and they make Elige your second man in, does this mean that Elige is no longer the star player and Elige has to be forced around? Elige needs to change. Elige needs to make these moves, or is it that maybe we need to find a replacement for Elige?
Yeah, that's something that that's been bandied about, I would say. It's a very interesting question. And I think that if you're going to have a player where in Liquid's heads, they're like, okay, well, we have to set this guy up over Elige, Ykinder is like one of the few players in the world where you really have that argument very well laid out for you. I think that Elige is a plenty smart and adaptable player that he could shift to playing other roles. He's never really had to within this roster. For the most part, It's been his team, and he's set up success. And he sort of dictates what he wants to play. I think that he is hitting a point in his career where it'd be really cool to see him shift to be more of a, I'm going to do what we need to do to win guy. I don't know if he is. That's up to him really to decide and determine. Yeah. But I think that that could be a really cool evolution for Liquid. Of course, also assuming that they can keep Indar, which please God, please, please. I know. He's so good. He's so good. He's such a good lad.
The problem is we're going to get teased with all this, and it's just not going to happen. Here's what you do. People want to bring up all the different scenarios. The Gambit scenario. He can pay off the salary and then Liquid reimburses. At the end of the day,
here's what you do. Here's the easy solution.
Yes.
You find yourself a really good contract lawyer who argues that because Virtus Pro is a sanctioned organization, they cannot legally hold Ykinder on contract. Boom, no buyout, free. I don't understand how he hasn't tried this already, to be honest.
Honestly, I won't lie. That feels.
You can't get paid. He's not a Russian. He's not Russian. He can't get paid legally by that entity, right?
Unless Latvia, depending on where he's living.
He's in the EU.
He's in the EU, but
the sanctions apply, my guy.
No, but it depends on which country he's part of.
I don't know, man.
Right? Because that's how Norway got around it, because they're not part of the ESCA, which did not, and so therefore they did not have the same sanctions on Russian orgs at the same time as the EU.
Look, I'm not a money
Don't
guy,
make me bring out my international relations degree on this shit.
Go get a lawyer. Ryan Morrison doesn't do this part. We'll go find an international contract lawyer. International
Prodigy
law.
Agency. Get Prodigy Agency.
We're gonna get Ykinder out of this damn contract and into Team Liquid. He's gonna be bleeding red, white, and blue by the end of the summer. I'm here for it. Problem is, red, white, and blue are also the colors of the other organization. So, it doesn't really work.
Anyways, we have Cloud9 facing Outsiders. A little bit of a Russian derby there. I think that I'm not. It's gonna be that's a Cloud9 win, and then Furia, Astralis. That's Astralis. I think Furia has just been struggling. I think
Outsiders looks better than you'd expect with Fame and Norbert. I don't know that they're gonna do well against C9 though, but they do look better than you'd expect with Fame and Norbert. Fame and Norbert have settled in nicely. I think Fame is going to be something real good at some point.
Norbert is a good player, so
Norbert is very solid in what he does, and as they figure out what he's good at, I think they'll get better at deploying him. And I think Fame needs that adjustment period, but he's already starting to hit it where it's like, oh yeah, this is why they want him. It'll take a little while yet, I suspect, but he could be a pretty good replacement there.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I think those are all of our matchups, right, for the next day. I want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. They've been our primary betting sponsor over here at dust2.us. They're legal in 33 United States. Make sure that you check out their website, see if it's legal. Always gamble responsibly. For me, I've been doing some of their pick'ems over this week, trying to get some good stuff in. I was burned by Zaiwu. I believed in Zaiwu, and I got burned by him. So not gonna bet on him anymore. Use code DUST2. You can get $100 back for your first $100 deposit when you use that code. And yeah, shout out to them. We'll have another article coming out for their picks for the main stage for tomorrow. And with that, Mike, I want to thank you for coming on to the show. And
always pleasure.
Always happy to hear your thoughts on all that stuff. And with that, make sure to, guys, always check out the interviews that we have on dust2.us. Follow the Twitter, follow the YouTube. This will go onto YouTube to watch the VOD. We will also have this onto our podcast platforms, which you can find on anywhere that you get your podcasts from. And so with that, we will see some matches tomorrow. I'll be up bright and early at 6:30 a.m. to watch it all.